What is the first thing you think about whenever you hear the word Muslims? Is it terrorists? Is it 9/11? Is it radical? Or is it violence? Well, what if I were to tell you that Muslims have the same views and beliefs that Christians do? When we look at their beliefs, which are their 5 pillars, which are laid out in the Quran, the 5 pillars are belief, 5 daily prayers, fasting, charity, and pilgrimage. The first pillar, belief, requires Muslims to believe that Allah, which translates to God, which Christians believe in, and they're required to believe that He is the only God, and that Muhammad, which was Allah's last messenger, was His last prophet. Christians also believe that God was the one and only God, and that Jesus was His Son, who He sent down to earth. There's a big correlation between the two. The second pillar is the 5 daily prayers. Muslims are required to pray 5 times a day, once in the early morning, once in the early afternoon, once in the late afternoon, once in the early evening, and once in late evening. Some of these prayers are preset prayers that they have to say every day, but at the end of these prayers, they can free verse, ask them for forgiveness, or ask help in a test or something like that. And they're all praying to Allah, which is God, the same God that we pray to. And Christians do the same thing. We don't have preset prayers that we say or preset times that we pray them in, but we do pray every day, whether it's for giving thanks or for forgiveness or just saying thank you for things that we have gotten during the day. The third pillar is fasting. Fasting requires Muslims to fast from sun up to sundown during the holy month of Ramadan. I was able to talk to a couple of Muslim students here, and they said that they get up way early in the morning, usually 4 o'clock in the morning during the holy month of Ramadan, and they eat a big breakfast, and then while the sun's up, they just don't eat. And then whenever the sun goes down, they eat a light dinner, and then they do it all over again. And this is for the entire month. This is to teach them like kind of how it feels to not have food, like the people who are needy. And Christians do the exact same thing, except we're not required to fast. It's more of it's a way to get closer to God. And fasting for Christians, it could be food, it can be technology, it can be people, it can be anything that can get in your way of getting closer to God that you're giving up. The fourth pillar is charity. Charity requires Muslims to give 2.5% of their yearly income to the poor and needy. Christians have charity as well, but we give charity in forms of tithe and offering. Tithe is the 10% monthly income that you receive, and you give it right back to the church. This usually goes towards a mortgage, the electric, the utilities, everything like that, so that the church can stay up and running. And you also have offerings. Offerings are what you give on top of your tithe, as just a way to say thank you, like give back to the church. And the last and final pillar is pilgrimage. Pilgrimage requires families or Muslim families who are financially able to travel to the Kaaba in Mecca to pray. For those who are not financially able, it's okay. They say Allah understands that you're not financially able to travel, so it's not a sin that you don't go. But for Christians, we don't really have a set place that we go and travel to. But I translated that more into we have a spiritual pilgrimage in our life, and that's where we try to live our life Christ-like. So, I mean, spiritually we grow in the Word, and we try to live our life and have a positive impact on the world. Not all Muslims are terrorists. A lot of people have speculations as to, like whenever they see a Muslim, they're like, oh man, let's walk across the street. That's not a good way to think, because according to tolerance or religiostolerance.org, there are there are 5 different branches of Islam, and over 80% of the Muslim population are in the Sunni branch. The Sunni branch promotes peace, happiness, joy, everything like that. Same things that Christians believe in. The branch that people associate terrorists with is the Shia branch. And this is the more radical, pro-violence towards other religions. But they are mainly in the Middle East. You really don't have any over here in the United States. Because, I mean, if you had them over here in the United States, they might have already done something. So, I mean, if you see some Muslims in public, they're most likely the Sunni branch, and they're very peaceful. They're just like Christians. In closing, I want you to think about next time you see a Muslim in public, think about their beliefs, who they pray to, and just their overall well-being. Because whenever you look at them, you're basically looking in the mirror and looking back at yourself, because they believe the exact same things you do.